What a week has it been this week. Merry Christmas, everybody. A belated Merry Christmas. If I haven't said Merry Christmas to you already, I've been saying Merry Christmas to everybody the past couple of days. I hope everyone's got a wobbly pop ready for this one. This is going to be some fun. Now, a little scheduling mishap for everybody who's tuning in right away. Heard me say this morning that we're going to be doing the Marty Clyde show tonight. That got pushed back until tomorrow, so I'm doing the usual Friday night thing tonight. And then we're gonna do the Marty thing tomorrow. That's how this is all gonna work out. It was just one of those weird scheduling moments, and I know we're doing a back-to-back, but okay, let's do this. Let's do this. It's just the way it works around the holidays. You get messed up schedules, and we just make it work. Welcome everybody. Cheers. And hopefully everyone's having a great holiday. I really hope so. Let's bring the chat on in here. Pop a top. Yeah, that's right. Get one if you got them. Get them from the getting spot, and bring them on over. And if not, grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself a tea, grab yourself a whatever. Sit down, bucket of popcorn, what have you. Whatever you got, whatever you need, get it for yourself. And let's check in and start looking at some of this stuff. It's been a hectic one on X for me over the past couple of days. This is a funny one. I've been having a lot of fun with this Grok feature where you can make AI stuff. You ask him ask Grok to make all kinds of stuff, and it's very, very clever how it organizes it. And sometimes it's kind of wacky, and sometimes it's all over the place. But you can personify some of the things that you wanted to share. For example, here's one of the phrases I've been saying for some time. I've been telling people what the discourse on X is actually like. So the discourse on X being having an intellectual conversation with an angry chihuahua behind a chain link fence. I'm sure you've all heard me say it before, but now here it is personified. It's I'm having so much fun with this AI. Let me get my windowed projector up here so I can see everything a little bit better. That's nice. That's nice. Now I can actually see the chat. That's really good. But yeah, this is this is how things are on Twitter, and you can have so much fun. It's a great place to get your ideas out, but understand you are going to get people mad no matter how benign the things you happen to say are, or if you're trying to be a little bit poking the bear, a little inflammatory. Yeah, you get it. You'll get it. And it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Twitter, or what's now called X, is a great place for these kinds of conversations. This place is great for just continuing the conversation where you can elaborate a little bit more, get into some of the more nuances of what it is that you're talking about. But let's see here. What are some of the things I put out this week? This was a poll I put out on X. Maybe I gotta do more of this on YouTube, because you can put these polls on YouTube. I don't know why I didn't think of doing that, but I put this one out there asking, there's no doubt government is way too involved in too many aspects of our lives. we're starting to see where that's going. Great job they're doing down in Argentina with Javier Milei being elected there, doing a bang up job the first year, and now with Donald Trump and the Dream Team being elected in the United States, and we're all hoping for the best for that, and it's all looking really good. It's all looking really good. And then obviously some things are going to change here in Canada, and we're hoping for the best. We'll get into that. We'll get into some of our thoughts and some of our hopes and dreams and all of that. And I'd love to see a little bit of feedback from people in the chat. This is where you want to go with it. But yes, there is no doubt the government is way too involved in too many aspects of our lives. Everything, right down to, well, pretty much everything. Actually, you know what? You know who made a great summing this up? I had this lined up for a little bit later in the show, but these guys over at the National Citizens Coalition, they put this one out. Trudeau really sucks. That's right, he sucks. Want to hang on to more of your money? Help fire Trudeau. Go sign this Fire Trudeau petition. It's on over there. Perhaps I can give you guys a link to that. I'll just pop the link to the X over there. So then you can go follow, if you're using X, go give them a follow over the National Citizens Coalition. But this is a video that they put together. I had to re-edit it just because you can never be too sure about copyright claims on this platform, because if you put some music that somebody randomly put and then put it on Twitter, you never know. Sony Music's coming after everything. They're gonna take the kitchen sink. That's the way it works. But this is the video they put together. Ooh, quite loud. Get that down a little bit. Trudeau's taxes are sucking you dry. That's exactly what they're doing. They get you on the way to work. When you go to fill up your tank, they get you while you're at work. That's right. They're gonna get you everywhere you go. Hey, you're gonna go buy some food. You're gonna go do some shopping. This is where they get you. That's right. When you're having fun, they're gonna tax that too. Hey, why not when you heat your home? They're gonna go get you then. And then, oh yeah, when it's hot outside and you're cooling your home, or perhaps when you sell your home. That's right. They're gonna get you there too. And you know what? There is literally no escaping him. Yeah, that's right. Trudeau really sucks. That's where we're at. And why? Why are we paying all these new exorbitant taxes all over the place? Well, we're paying these taxes because of reckless spending. And obviously we're going to get into that. I want to savor that one for a little bit later. That's kind of the thing. Love that, the applause. But the applause really goes to the National Citizens Coalition for putting this video together. I added different music to it, obviously. But get on over there, nationalcitizens.ca, sign up. Get on their newsletter. It's just better when you get more information from more different sources. That's the way it goes. Yeah, G-Water. Yeah, smash that like button. Listen to the chat, folks. Listen to the chat. Get on that like button. I don't even see where the likes are just yet. Holy cow. That's a terrible ratio. Let me tell you something about how this works, folks. The like button is necessary. It's just one of those necessary evils. It's free. It helps out a ton. It really doesn't. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Just grab that mouse, guide it over. But the real joy of it is the way the algorithm works. Is you have a profile. YouTube makes a profile of basically everything that you watch on YouTube, and that profile probably matches a bunch of other people who have similar profiles, like-minded peoples, like all of these people in the community. If you want to add more people to the community, you want to get more like-minded people in here to enjoy these videos, to join in, to have conversations with us, what you do is you hit that little like button, and what it does is it sends out a signal to YouTube, and it says, hey, I know a whole bunch of people that like this kind of content. This guy and these people fit that profile, and they really like it. They liked it enough to actually engage with it. Do that, hit that like button. So yeah, it really helps out a lot. So really thank you so much. But yeah, don't let your memes be dreams. Hit that like button. Let's get that ratio up. Let's get into this. I'm gonna pass the buck on that one. Where were we going? Where were we going with this one? Yeah, okay, the poll that I put out on X. So the poll I put out saying, yeah, there's no doubt the government is way too involved in way too many aspects, as just illustrated there, of our lives. There seems to be two sentiments of why they're so terrible that I see coming from the same people that are incongruent. I think that these things are polar opposites, and how could they both be? They couldn't be possibly part of this simultaneously. Is the government inept, or are they carefully executing an agenda? It can't be both. It can't be both, folks. And we're not talking about just the government officials, MPs, that kind of thing. We're talking about the whole bureaucracy, the whole thing, the kit and caboodle, the whole package, the whole shazam, that whole thing. Are they inept? Because I keep seeing the same sentiment from the same people that are polar opposites. Yeah, the government is so dumb and they're so inept, we can't trust them to do anything. But then the government is, has this master plan, and they're executing this master plan to get this agenda done. But after some careful discussion, and the vote is obvious right here. They're organized villains. They're not woefully unqualified, apparently. is how the democracy speaks. Now, of course, this is just people that follow me on Twitter. This isn't like the Angus Reid poll, like we trust Angus Reid either. But I actually have a clip from him. I might even throw into the show tonight because what? Just either way. This isn't very like a scientific poll, and when people do polls on Twitter, I mean it's hardly scientific. It's people who like you and probably have similar opinions to yourself that end up voting in these polls. It's hard to get them to go out to a more accurate demographic, to represent what the actual public looks like. But yeah, this is an interesting concept. Now, what it came down to, some of the discussion was, perhaps it's, there are certain entities in the government that are very efficient, and everybody else is woefully unqualified. And then that's actually something we should celebrate. We should celebrate the fact that even though there's this a want to do bad things for our country and against us, when they do their best to implement them, the people who end up doing the job suck at it so bad that it hasn't happened yet. The good thing about communists is that they're not very good at getting stuff done. They're good at spreading the mind virus, that's for sure. But it comes to putting them work boots on, maybe tomorrow, that kind of thing. Famously, Jordan Peterson, what did he say? He says, to solve the problem of all these protests that he was having at his talks, he started having them at 8 a.m. and it squashed it. None of these people want to wake up and get up and be there for 8 a.m. to protest against Jordan Peterson talking to other academics about these things. So that's hilarious. Now, we got into some other banter, some other back and forth on some of this other stuff. Now, as you know, I'm not very keen on the whole black pilled thing. I don't like the idea of people coming in and poo-pooing on people who are doing their best to make changes in the world, and changes that I would think are effective changes. So I put this one out there. This is part of the whole angry chihuahuas behind the chain link fence thing. I put this one out. The Unip Party. Has everybody heard the term Unip Party? I'm sure you've heard it. Now, at first it was like, oh, okay, that kind of describes things that are the way things are going. But then it became this other thing. It became like a thing all on its own, just like this chant that people use to tell other people, give up already. Why don't you just give up? Trish Prue, holy cow, Merry Christmas with the $69.99 super chat. Wow, thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Clyde and the Clydesters. You and this community rocks. Well, thank you so much. That's amazing. That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. And it'll get put to good use for sure. Improving the quality of the show. That's where I'm investing a lot of this. So thank you. Really appreciate that. And I like this. People are allowed to reply to the super chats now. That's a really cool feature. Good on you, YouTube, for doing that. You do have an opinion regarding Pierre Polyev dancing for Chinese donors while singing in China for Chinese donors. Yeah, we'll get into that. We will get into that. So the idea of the Unip Party. The Unip Party has become what I describe here as a shibboleth of a class of internet creatures that are best personified by the comic book guy from The Simpsons. If you're familiar, he's the guy that comes in and poo-poos everything that people are doing on technical grounds or technicalities, that kind of thing. So I get into it. Say the term reeks of a false sense of mental superiority, as if they have some esoteric knowledge of how the system works, when they really are. All they really are is that little boy that gets mad and he takes his ball and he goes home. That sort of mentality. Because you couldn't get things to work. It doesn't mean that other people can't and won't. That's the reality. So the Unip Party name has become a cope for people who don't have what it takes to do what provably works. And this is where there's a lot of hope in other places because of what people have been doing. They'd rather disparage people who are actually making the difference. They're the proverbial crabs in the bucket. So the idea of the crabs in the bucket, I don't know if you've heard this term. So the crabs in the bucket is, because my wife didn't know what it meant, but she is from a different culture. So the idea of the crabs in the bucket is, a guy goes out onto the wharf and he sees all these guys crab fishing, and he sees these buckets full of crabs and it looks like they could get out. And he says to one of the fishermen, he says, "Hey, why don't you put a lid on those? Maybe they could get out." And he says, "Don't worry about it." See, the way it works is the crabs, if any of them get motivated enough to start climbing out, the other crabs will see that and they'll grab onto them and pull them back in. And that's the whole idea, is not allowing, crabs pull each other back in. So not allowing people to go further. And my wife is telling me, she's like, "Yeah, we got a similar thing about, like, if you dug you're into a hole and there might be a little branch sticking out, everyone will clamor for that branch and rip it out, instead of one guy possibly using that little branch and everybody helping him to get out so that, he'll go get a rope or something like that. Everybody, the natural tendency is, no, it's my branch, and then rip it right out of the ground, and then everybody's kind of screwed. Now, the idea here, and I get into this because we're at a particular point in Canada where all the political parties during COVID were horrible. It felt like we had no backing. We had people trying to start third parties or quitting the parties to go do other things, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works with our system. So what has been happening? A lot of people have been going in and saying, "Well, screw this. We're gonna start changing the parties." And the reason why people are starting to do that is because they've seen it happen in the United States. They've seen it happen in other countries. They watched it happen in the Netherlands when the farmers did start another party, but they infiltrated all the other parties. Just like Klaus Schwab saying, "We've penetrated the cabinets." Well, this is what the people are doing. And this is how a populist movement works, is the populace gets in and they say, "Hey, wait a second. We've kind of fallen asleep here. We've fallen asleep at the wheel." And here's the deal. Here's how politics work. We all know that lobbyists are going to the government so that they can get special deals and they can do all these things. We can be lobbyists. Like Klaus Schwab isn't the only one who's allowed to be a lobbyist. The pharmaceutical corporations are not the only ones that are allowed to be lobbyists. We can be our own lobbyists. And we have organizations that are fantastic at doing this that, have just been waiting for support, hoping for support. They get the Taxpayers Federation. We've got the National Citizens Coalition. We've got a lot of these organizations, and we can go and write our representatives as well. Tell them what kind of job they've been doing. Visit them. CCFR, how can I forget them? Absolutely. Yeah, these people have been doing a bang-up job, but they've been waiting for support. While all Canadians are, for the longest time just been sitting around going, "Well, it's good. It's good. I'm fine. I'm just going to, not pay attention to what's been going on." Well, that's what happens. The parties get infiltrated. They get penetrated the cabinets. This is how it works. So what we have been doing and what has been happening, you look at it in the United States, the Republican Party was we called them the neocons all through the 90s. The neocons kind of took over the Democrats recently. But there's a big movement of populism that's taking over the parties. You take over the major parties, and that's how you win. A perfect example of this, Ron Paul, for decades, was with the Libertarians. They got largely nowhere. He had, a small letter that would go around, mailed out, cost a lot of money, doing all that stuff. That's, good effort, but got nowhere until he joined the Republican Party. Then he got elected, and he's for decades, he was doing amazing work. Retired now. His son's keeping up his legacy. Fantastic. The Tea Party, that was great. And what did the Tea Party do? They raised tons of money. They raised awareness, and they brought a lot of people to go to the primaries in the parties and elect good people to run for office. That's the idea here. You want to get those people running for office. Now, here's some of the sentiment that I've been getting from folks in response to this. And, it's fair, for people to chime in and say these things. A short history of Canadian politics. Here it is. If it's too small, vote Liberal to get rid of the Conservatives because you don't like the Conservatives. Get angry at the Liberals. Vote Conservative to get rid of the Liberals. Get angry at the Conservatives. Now, yeah, sure, right on the surface level. But here's the deal. Surface level understanding of how politics works in this country makes for a good meme, but it shows, just how in depth you think our democratic institutions are. If all you think you have to do is go once every 4 years and fill in a circle, and that's all you need to do. I think there's a little bit more to it, and this is it. You guys need to make a maple party. Why not just turn the Conservatives maple? Not only the Conservatives, get into the Liberals, because the Liberals are going to be nothing in a minute in the next election. But if you're I've been saying this for months. If your riding goes Liberal all the time and it's not going to flip, well, get involved in the party. Get involved in the party. What can you say? And then hopefully, if it's not yourself, somebody you can trust, somebody you can put in and vote in to be the representative for that party, even if they don't like it. That's democracy. That's how it works, right? If your riding always goes NDP, do the same thing. Go to those parties with your values, because the reality of the situation is it's one of the three parties that are going to win in any riding. Maybe one will go green. I don't know. One might go green, but this is the situation. So this is my encouragement to people, that we can change things. We just got to have a little bit more involvement than just saying, yeah, when that thing comes up every 4 years, I'm gonna go put my John Hancock on it, and that's all I do. Well, if that's all you do, then absolutely, it will be just like voting for what did South Park say, the douchebag or a turd sandwich. That's how it works. That's how it works. So if the only people lobbying these government agencies, if the only people lobbying them are these multinational corporations, these multinational NGOs, things like the World Economic Forum, well, where do you think it's going to go if they're the only ones talking to them? That's the idea. Yeah, the Unip Party, the Uni Party. So yeah, that's it. When it comes to the pandering thing, I mean, all politicians pander. What are you gonna expect from anybody? All of them do. Even the ones that don't like politicians typically, and like that one guy from Quebec. Yeah, he panders too. That's how that goes. But that's sort of my opinion on that one. I love hearing other people's opinions. I'm tired of fighting lots of different things. Yeah. And this is why we need good representatives. This is why there are people that do want to step up to the plate. I think they're wasting their talents if they're stepping up to a different plate. Other than the red or the blue plate. Get in, make it happen. Get a team of people to make this happen. We can do it. More ways than one to completely change a party. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, not just the primary process, but there are all kinds of different things. And there are people who are working really hard at it. I know one guy in particular, Wyatt Claypool. He's very involved. Yeah, he does content, but he's very involved behind the scenes. I've been trying to get involved as much as I possibly can to help out with what I can. But this is this is the direction that we're going, and I hope to see more people doing that, or else we'll end up with more Christmas messages like this. I'm sorry, everybody, hold your breath on this one. This one's gonna be hard to get through. Let's just get into this. Dale Johnson, by the way, saying this is what true and unwavering leadership looks like. Oh, why did I? Anyway, no, I thought that was sarcasm. But Christmas messages from this guy. Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. This is a time of year to slow down, to rest, and to connect with the people you love most. It's a moment to put our phones down, to put our politics aside, even when that one cousin makes it really hard.
He's that cousin. He is that cousin. Ugh. Oh, no. Yeah, he's that cousin that makes it really hard. Oh, you know why he's telling people to chill out? He's telling people, take it easy over the holidays. I want to have my job when I get back. That's really what it is. Why did your mods remove my messages? Because you disagree? No, I don't believe so. No. We don't do that here. If you were rude, that's how that works. Hallelujah and amen. Evil Trudy is going down again. Yeah, that's right. Please stop no more. Okay, we got to get through a little bit of this.
And to focus on what matters.
Getting him out.
Christians, it's a time to celebrate the birth of Christ and think about his story of kindness,
okay, I'll put it on fast forward
and faith.
For you guys.
The lessons of his life are universal, and they inspire and comfort people every time they're told and retold. For so many, the holidays are a time of big family gatherings and feasts, of gifts and celebrations. But maybe it's a very hard time.
Yeah, maybe not for a lot of people this year, Trudeau. Not after 9 years of your mismanagement of the country.
And for you, if you're grieving, worried, or alone, this can be the toughest time of the year. It can be the loneliest. So let us all check in on the people in our lives who've not had an easy time this year, and who maybe need us more than we know. For a lot of Canadians, Christmas is not a holiday at all. So thank you to our brave first responders, CAF members, healthcare and essential workers, and everyone who's on a job right now so that others can stay home safely. You embody what Christmas is really about: giving, gifts, food, and service to those around us. I wish joy to everyone who's celebrating today and comfort.
Make it in the Chipmunks voice.
You are. I hope you find light and hope for the year ahead. Merry Christmas.
Wow, he mentions Christianity first time. Yeah, that's right, Margaret. So there was some serious backlash on one of their tweets recently. I don't know if I have that one up still, because they put out a tweet saying happy holidays, and people are just done with that anymore. No, I don't have it up anymore. But people are just done hearing that. They're absolutely done with hearing this, like, kowtow to people who hate Christians or whatever this crap is. Now, here's the thing. We have a separation of church and state in the country, but we absolutely respect people, how they want to worship God and celebrate God in their own way, or not to. That's your right. But this whole, like, it has been a war on Christmas. It was this meme forever of wokies saying, "What, is there a war on Christmas?" Like, yeah, there has been, and it's been accelerating year after year after year. Finally, people are just like, no, just say Merry Christmas, idiot. Like, what holiday? Happy holidays. What holiday do you think it is? I mean, yeah, it could be people celebrating Hanukkah. Sure, say Happy Hanukkah to those people. Say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Great. You don't have to exclude it. It's kind of like the Xmas thing. Like, why do you really? It's really along the same, because some people might think that's benign. You got to realize it's pretty awful for people that are Christians to see Christ removed from the holiday that celebrates the birth of Christ. Yeah, that's not respectable at all. Clyde, my comments were getting blocked too. Well, that's really weird. I don't know. So I know YouTube has like an algorithmic thing. If you try to say certain things, I don't even know what the certain words are. So yeah. Xmas. Yeah, people saying Xmas. They don't realize. Yeah, it's exactly the same as Women X, Latinx, Marxism. Yeah, it really is. It really is like Marxism. Because, oh, holy cow, that's where we're at now. there is a war on religious institutions, and this is what Marxists do. This is what communists, socialists, what do you want to call them? What do they want to be called now? Liberals. They take a name that's completely the opposite of what they believe in. Liberals, by the way, the term liberal, like a classical liberal, are the people who want liberty from authoritarianism. That's the way. That's not what liberals today want. It's an Orwellian thing. Now, Dr. Leslyn Lewis pointing this out. While we were all distracted with the events of last week, Liberal, Bloc, and NDP members of the Finance Committee proposed that organizations like churches should be stripped of their charitable status. This is serious and dangerous. Only conservatives will stand up to religious freedom and charitable organizations. And like I said, great people. Thanks, Clyde. I thought it was Friday when you went live. Lol, I'm glad it's Thursday. Yeah, so Paul, the way things worked this week with scheduling, we had to change some things around. Marty was going to come on tonight instead of last night, but then more family events were happening, so he's like, hey, I can't do it. Can we do it Friday? So I just flipped it. So we're doing the Friday tonight. We're going to do the Marty and Clyde show tomorrow. So that'll be that. So welcome back for that one. We're doing it back to back. This is a lot of fun. I miss that Canada used to be like. Yeah, absolutely. Tyrants and traitors. So yeah, separation of church and state. But why would they try to get rid of religious institutions' ability to have charitable status? But yet, they still want to have foundations that are just laundering organizations like the Trudeau Foundation to still have their charitable status. So yeah, there's a lot to that. But yeah, only conservatives will stand up for religious freedoms and charitable organizations. And this gets back to, are the conservatives our guys? Largely, yes, at this point, because we have people like Dr. Leslyn Lewis. We have some great conservatives in the Conservative Party. Yeah, we have some, establishmentarianists or what's that longest word in the English language? Anti-establishmentarianism. So establishment characters in the party. But just like the Republicans in the United States, that's an issue that they have. But that doesn't mean that they're going to do great things. Jamil Javani also, this is the future. This is the future of the the Conservative Party. It looks good. It's going in the right direction. We've got Aaron Gunn. He's not elected yet, but he won the primary process, and he's going to be a member of parliament in the next election. It's trending towards him. AP's Rosary with a $13.99 super chat. Merry Christmas, Clyde. I just wanted to mention that Christianity is the foundation of Western values. Other religions aren't the same. I agree with you. Wholeheartedly. Now, a lot of the Christian faith does originate from Judaism. I pointed out in my video, I don't know if who watched it, how many people said it or saw it, but I pointed out the book by Thomas Paine. I don't have it up still anymore. Sorry, but Thomas Paine wrote a book. It was one of the best pieces of literature that I'd read in a long time. Christianity doesn't come from Judaism. Well, I know Christianity comes from Christ, but the foundations definitely, a lot of the foundations definitely do, and the whole Old Testament is the Jewish Torahs. That's that's the thing. So anyway, Thomas Paine, a whole chapter is dedicated to the book of Judges and how at the time in the book of Judges, so the Israelites, they were out from tyrants, and they were off and living amongst themselves, and they were told, yeah, Jesus was a Jew. There you go. That's pretty obvious there. They were living, and they asked God. They said, "Give us a king," and God said, "No, I'm not going to give you a king." And they said, "Well, how are we gonna be able to settle our differences and all this other stuff?" And he says, "You're going to be judges. You're going to have arbiters, and you're going to assign arbiters to cast judgment on your fellow, each other, You're going to have to figure this out and get this going. And he lays out like how all this works. And in his book, he talks about how this was a great foundation for his ideas for the judicial system, which ended up largely being adopted in the United States of America when they declared independence and ratified their Constitution. And the book itself was called Common Sense. And I thought it was wow, how amazing is that we're all talking about common sense these days. And that's that book. That's that book, Common Sense by Thomas Paine. So if you haven't, get out and read it. It's a really, really good book. Thomas Paine, obviously being one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. Fantastic character, was labeled a bad guy from the British and even the French at one point. But yeah, ended up founding the United States. That's where we are. Frequency, Jesus teachings equals love. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that people got that message on Christmas. The reason for the season, yeah, the celebration of the birth of Christ. Now, Dr. Leslyn Lewis is one of the great characters who is working in the Conservative Party, as well as people like Roman Baber. More people are just named off. This is what gets me motivated to see this kind of thing moving forward, and I think we're in the right direction. But Harper, yeah, right. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that soon. But Leslyn Lewis has been working really hard. Oh, one second. Christine May with a $5 super chat. YouTube. Dyslexia. I see everything backwards. Thank you for your book recommendations. Almost done economics in one lesson and awaiting common sense. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. How is economics in one lesson? Henry Hazlitt. Fantastic book. It's a great start. And in fact, that is the book that my hero in economics, Dr. Walter Block, who made sure that I only referred to him as Walter when I had him on the show. How amazing is that? This small world, all these things come together. Anyway, he tells a story about when he was young. He was like some pinko commie, and he went to confront Ayn Rand at a convention and he actually got to her ear and said, let me tell you all about the wonders of socialism. And she said, you know what? Read this book, get back to me, and I will give you I'll be your audience for that talk if you read this book first. He went home, he read that book, and he was a Randian. he was a free market capitalist overnight, a dirty, filthy capitalist. And that book changed his mind forever. So I think it's a great tool for giving to people that are, on the fence or not sure about their political leanings or that sort of thing. Fantastic book. I always keep a copy so I can lend it out to people. Onthego, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, with a $5 super chat says, Clyde, we need you here to collab with Elon and Trump. Yeah. Oh, how good would that be? Holy cow. How fantastic would that be? I like Clyde's dinner jacket. Yeah, I got my Sudbury dinner jacket on tonight. No, I didn't get the Canadian tuxedo. That's so thing with the just with the visuals and all of that stuff, because I'm in a temporary situation right now. I really wanted to just make things visually appealing. I know my old studio was great. It was messy all the time, but it was great, the piano in the back and all of that stuff. But I want to make it visually appealing, but at the same time, I don't want to have to worry about like what clothes I've got all the time. I'm usually in my workwear. Because I that's what I do. I just work nonstop. But I was like, oh, I need to stop just wearing all black. It's a little too much. So yeah, it's tartan. That's right. I think it's a little basic for tartan. I do have a family tartan, but it's not this color. Why doesn't Clyde do something? Because I never do anything. That's great. Miss the old studio. Get a piano when you're in Texas. That is one of the plans. I don't know how soon it will be. It'll be one of the things that I have on my list. If I can, I'd love to get a saloon piano or like one of those player pianos in the future. But that's a thing. Plaid. Yeah, plaid tartan. Johnny Cash had no problem with it. With the all black thing. Yeah. He was the man in black. Negs us. What's a neg? I'm trying to figure out what that emoji is. The election box. That's it. Anyway, moving on. Leslyn Lewis. I keep trying to segue to this. Leslyn Lewis has been fighting very hard in our government and with the Conservative Party, and because that's how you get elected. Sorry to all the Bernier bros out there. The way to get elected is to get yourself in one of the major parties. It's the even the left has been doing this. With characters like Cenk Uygur, getting characters like AOC and whatever, the Squad, those people, getting them in through the primary process, because that's how you make it happen. So this is we know the winning strategy. Let's go for it. Let's make that happen. But Leslyn Lewis, while she's been fighting for stuff on our side quietly, while the news doesn't want to cover it, they're doing very similar things to what Leslyn's been advocating for in the U.S. as we speak. Breaking news, Charlie Kirk putting this out there saying, President Trump announces the U.S. will officially withdraw from the World Health Organization, calling it a corrupt globalist scheme funded by American taxpayers. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are, why am I not subscribed to Charlie Kirk? Oh, it's Charlie Kirk News. That's right. Fair enough. They get you. That's how you people to subscribe for this stuff. But this is Donald Trump talking about it in a video on X.
The World Health Organization has become nothing more than a corrupt globalist scam paid for by the United States but owned and controlled by China. When the China virus reached our shores 3 years ago, the World Health Organization disgracefully covered the tracks of the Chinese Communist Party every single step of the way. For this reason, it was my great honor to terminate America's relationship with the World Health Organization. The United States was paying the World Health Organization almost $500 million a year. When I dropped out, I took it out of there. And for 330 million people, even though China was paying only $40 million for 1.4 billion people. So we had 330, they have 1.4, and we're paying more than 10 times the amount. That's typical for the United States because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Unfortunately, crooked Joe Biden foolishly re-entered the World Health Organization at the full price and without any negotiations or reforms. And now Biden is pushing to bypass the United States Senate to enter a pandemic treaty that would surrender American sovereignty to the World Health Organization.
I just love how he delivers the speech. It's so funny.
The draft treaty would require the United States to send vast quantities of medical supplies to other countries in the event of another pandemic, and it would push aggressive censorship of free speech on issues of public health, just like they censored the truth about the Wuhan lab, which I said that's where it came from, remember. Under the next Trump administration, that treaty will be immediately terminated. I would not allow public health to be used as a pretext to advance the march of global government. That's what they're doing, globalists. The United States will withdraw from the corrupt World Health Organization, which, in light of its utter failure on COVID, they had a tremendous disaster on COVID, deserves to be completely abolished and replaced. Then I will work to forge a new coalition of nations that are strongly committed to protecting health, while also upholding sovereignty and freedom. I want to thank you very much, but I also want to say this. I could have renegotiated the deal. I could have gone into the World Health Organization for $25 million. Biden didn't take that deal. He's paying almost $500 million. They were so anxious to get the United States back after I terminated the agreement. They were so anxious to get it back that they offered me a deal, $25 to $30 million. And I said, no, I'll wait. Could have gotten it for less, but I didn't want less at that point. We were paying almost $500 million. Could have done it for 25 to 30. Biden took the $500 million deal. He knew he could have gotten back in for less. So why did he pay so much? But that's just one of many things that are wrong with our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Indeed. I love the way he talks. I saw a lot of great comments in there talking about how it's just love him or hate him. It's funny. It's funny. It really is. The way he behaves, the way he acts, the way he talks. It's brash. It's entertaining. I mean, to say the least. It's not presidential. What is presidential? What is presidential? Tell me what presidential is. Is it being geriatric and falling over yourself all over the place, poo in your pants on stage? Is that people are saying that's what happened? Not being able to get a sentence out. I don't know. Hanging out with drag queens like our prime minister. Like what is presidential or prime ministerial? Let me know in the chat, because this guy's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. And well, we could get into the jokes. But maybe save. No, we're not gonna save that one for later. Let's just get into it right now. He's back and he's memeing and he's tweeting, and this is his thing. Now, a lot of people, man, I see like such a split on this one. People saying, yeah, let's join America. Let's be part of the 51st state. And other people saying, no, I'm Canadian and you're a traitor if you're advocating for that stuff. It's a joke, people. It's a joke. It's not going to happen. Now, I did talk about the fact that, you know, for example, Nova Scotia was a colony. It was a British colony, and then they became a Canadian colony. Or yeah, Marty breaks it down so much better in this clip here.
It's happened throughout history, right? Newfoundland, people forget this, but after World War II, Newfoundland was a British colony doing poorly, went bankrupt. And what did they do? They pleaded with us, hey, Canada, can we join Confederation? So if we keep going down this path, and I'm sure we're going to get comments from the viewers on this, but if we keep going down this path, maybe the Americans can just buy us for, you know, pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar. Now that's kind of the joke, and the joke is that Canada is being so horribly mismanaged. It is being horribly mismanaged. There's no doubt about that. And Trump is trying to get Canada to go into an election and have somebody else come in and manage it better. We want to have better neighbors. This is the reality of the situation. On Thego with a $5 super chat says presidential is getting the point across. Yeah, get that point across. But that's not what we've been getting. It's not what we've been getting from what would you call it? The left, the establishment. Ugh. The point of the establishment is to keep that war machine going. And yeah, there are elements of the conservatives that want to do that too. Same with the Republicans. You know, you got your Lindsey Grahams, and you've got your, what's his name? Eye Patch McCain. I even forget his real name anymore. The Dan Crenshaw, Warhawk. You know, these guys that seem very reasonable on other conversations, but as soon as it's like a possibility to go, lob bombs at people in foreign countries, they're all about it. Hey, let's spend that money. Let's get those Raytheon contracts going. Yeah, I'm not for that either. And there's elements of that in our Conservative Party, and this is why I think we have to work harder to take over those elements and make it very obvious that that's not the will of the people. And that's how we make a change for it. Again, my opinion there. We are so back saying Eric Trump. This is Donald Trump's son, putting this out there. Now, mind you, if you look close enough, you can see Donald Trump's screen that he's looking down at. He's seeing this meme, which is a cart, a checkout cart. You've got Canada, you've got Greenland, and you've got the Panama Canal on there because obviously Trump put out a statement. Excuse me. Woo, got some burps going on. Wobbly pops are fantastic. They're hitting just right after Christmas dinner after Christmas dinner. Wow, I hope you guys all been eating well out there as well with this. But Donald Trump saying Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago, always making certain that the United States puts in billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. Also, to the Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high, but if Canada becomes our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country anywhere in the world. Likewise, to the people of Greenland, which is needed by the United States for national security purposes, and who want the U.S. to be there, and we will. And we will. It's just too funny. It's just too funny. I mean, he's poking fun. They're not invading Canada. Let's just get that one out of the way. But the memes are hilarious, and joking about it is a lot of fun. People even putting their sentiment in there, saying, here's Bruce McGonigal saying Donald Trump is offering Canada a 60% tax reduction and an economic boom if Canadians become the 51st state in the U.S. We would be able to keep emergency rooms open. The dollars we earn would also be way more valuable than the weak Canadian dollar. Pretty sad when a passing joke starts sounding so appealing, right? I mean, who's with me on that one? Governor Wayne Gretzky. That's it. Of course, yeah, Trump putting this one out there. Here's his other post saying, I just left Wayne Gretzky, the great one, as he's known in ice hockey circles. I said, Wayne, why don't you run for the Prime Minister of Canada soon, to be known as the Governor of Canada? You won't win easily, or you would win easily. You wouldn't even have to campaign. He had no interest, but I think the people of Canada should start a draft Wayne Gretzky movement. It would be so much fun to watch. That was Donald Trump on Truth Social. It's way too funny. Now, I pointed out the other day, how long before the news media ties Donald Trump to Wayne Gretzky and says, Gretzky, that's a Russian surname. He's tied to Russia, and do the whole Russia scandal all over again through that. I wouldn't put it past them. It's unbelievable the stuff that they actually do say. But some of these TV agencies are starting to turn around. It's crazy. Let me know in the comments. Do you think that the CBC is kind of turning the tide because they don't want to be defunded, or do you think that they're actually coming around? Here's a clip from the CBC. Again, I had to mess with the audio and I had to mess with the visuals because CBC, I don't know. They might even copyright claim other things in this video that were not their work, as we saw recently. But I'm protecting myself from them trying to copyright stuff. I'm doing commentary on these things. Now, the commentary on this one, obviously, this is a skit from this hour, has 22 minutes. And they're basically crapping on Trudeau and Freeland. Why is the question?
Another non-confidence vote, Christian. How long will this last?
Justin, it's time to think about the future.
You mean robot lovers?
No. Like the near future? How's your resume?
I don't have one. Do you?
Oh, yeah. One for each sector. Each with their own corresponding scent. I've got agriculture, banking, media, not-for-profit.
Ew.
Yeah.
I don't need another job, Christian. The Canadian people will come around.
Trudeau, come on down here and let me film you like a man.
Let's begin writing my resume.
Resume. I have been waiting 9 years for this moment. How's this format?
What is that? Size 11 font? Are you deranged? Bump it up to 18. Then we don't need as much stuff.
Okay, previous occupations.
Snowboard instructor. Drama teacher.
Doesn't sound good.
And the most difficult job of all, father.
And Prime Minister?
This skit is older.
Oh, right, yes, Prime Minister.
Okay, what are your special skills?
Leadership. Decisiveness.
Yeah, the vocal fry is awful.
None of those. None of it. None. Nepotism.
Well, that's not really a skill.
How come it got me all those jobs then?
Okay, I'm just gonna put hair, and I'll just bump the font to 24.
I like it.
What are your references?
The Canadian people.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
I'm just gonna put Galen Weston Jr.
So
He owes you.
pretty cringy, just out of the gates there. Just to throw that out there. I don't find their humor all that funny, but just the fact that they nice job versus copyright. Yeah, I gotta do it. Gotta do what you gotta do. But the thing is, I don't find their humor that good. Maybe it's because I'm jaded because I saw all the stuff that they said about the Freedom Convoy, all the things that, yeah, pretty awful stuff. But it's, yeah, there you go, super cringe. It feels pretty cringe to me. But the fact that they're actually ragging on Trudeau is a big surprise. It's a really big surprise that they're full on coming out making fun of him. Didn't seem like they were really making that much fun of Chrystia Freeland in that. It was really about Trudeau. 22 minutes was never funny. Yeah, I had a hard time with it. But that was making the rounds because people were very surprised. And the sentiment that was going around on that clip was the idea that, oh, I see, CBC doesn't want to get defunded once Pierre gets in because that's what's coming down the pipe for them. And that's a promise. That's absolutely a promise that Pierre has put out there. I even have a clip here from Brian Lilly. Brian Lilly was interviewing Pierre a bit ago. This isn't a brand new tweet by any stretch. Oh, no, it is a pretty new one. It's December 23rd this year. So this was him asking, like, are you actually going to do this? Because we want you to. And we've heard a lot of promises. Are you really going to do it? And how quick?
Let me ask you about CBC because it is one of the biggest applause lines at any of your rallies. Mm-hmm. It's huge. Back when you were still running for leader, it was that way. Since you've become leader, people go crazy when you say that. Mm-hmm. And not saying don't do it. They want it done now. I keep getting asked, do you really think he's going to do it? And I say,
yes, I am going to do it.
Okay, then tell us. How quick?
Very quick.
So
very quick.
That doesn't mean you're shutting them down, right?
I'm going to defund CBC. That's my commitment. I said my commitment has been the same since I first said it at my very first leadership rally in Regina. I said we will defund the CBC to save $1 billion. That was my commitment then. It's my commitment now.
Let me ask you about
save $1 billion. I mean, and what do we get for $1 billion? Not a lot. Not a lot. Not a lot at all. And that's just the surface level. I went over this before because what came into contention was this idea that the CBC is, not, they weren't, how did this happen? Actually, let's get into it. So when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he put government funded or government run media. Government agencies got a different check mark than verified accounts. This was something that they did. So on Twitter, CBC got the gray check mark because it's a government agency, and they were pissed. And they put the label on there, said government funded. And they were mad because they said that they're not fully government funded, that they're an independent body, yada, yada. And so in retaliation to that, in response to that, Twitter or X, Elon Musk had them change it to 70% funded, government funded. I think it's gone now from their X account because they threatened to not use X anymore. Who cares? Who cares? Don't use X then, CBC, and then nobody will hear about your articles. That's really what's going on. Oh yeah, people asking about no Marty. Yeah, no. So there was a schedule change. Marty is going to be on tomorrow's show. This is the usual Friday, doing it on Thursday. The holidays are screwy. They're all over the place. I agree. If CBC can survive on their own, then good for them. If not, oh well, didn't watch CBC anyway. Absolutely. I don't think any tax dollars should go towards CBC, period. None. Zero. Now, the 70% model number, I gave a little bit of contention to that. Like, I contested that because if you look at it, yes, they say 70% is government funding. The rest of it is advertising. Well, all the way through COVID, who was their number one advertiser? Anybody? Yeah, the government. The government was the number one advertiser, pumping out COVID announcement adverts. Go get your this, go get your that, go get your thing that I don't even know if you're allowed to mention still on this platform. But that was the thing and that was arguably misinformation, arguably. But that was what they were doing. So yeah, the government, if you worked it out, was a lot more than 70% of their funding model. That's the reality of the situation there. Was Mr. Dress Up on CBC? That's all I watched. Was it on CBC? Maybe. I know there was like a Canadian version of Sesame Street that, why? There was just the otter character or whatever. We whatever. TVO. Yeah, was it on TVO? But whatever the case. So we could cut $1 billion and then all the advertising for the CBC in a heartbeat. Trudeau is a commie for $2 says no more pools and Audis for CBC. Pools and Audis. Is that what they what? I haven't heard anything about pools and Audis. Yes, Mr. Dressup was a CBC show. There you go. Channel 10, Rogers, also Mr. Dressup. Fair enough. Jeremy. I don't know who Jeremy is. My wife is making an awesome exhibit about him. Okay. That's cool. About Mr. Dressup? Man, the nostalgia, right? The nostalgia. But so here's the thing. When we cut funding for CBC, we'll also cut funding for Global, CTV, I think it's like Chorus Entertainment, all of these different entities, and we'll save a ton of money. I mean, the thing that everyone's, Jagmeet Singh and the liberals are complaining about, the conservatives are going to make all these cuts. Well, yeah, they're going to make cuts. They're going to have to. But they don't have to cut people's, social safety net first. Those aren't the things. We got to get a good economy going so that those people can get off of social services. That's a big thing. Trudeau's a commie, back with another one. No more bonus for pools and Audis. There you go. Yeah, they make giving themselves bonuses while they're failures on the tax dollar. Yeah, CBC wasn't always bad just the last 20 years or so, LOL. Yeah, but they weren't always funded to the tune of $1 billion. It's crazy. They were able to have a good funding model for an amount of time, and people did watch it. Now they don't. $660,000 bonus to Michael Goldblum, CBC chair. So why are we subsidizing them? Yeah, and that's the thing. So you got to look at the way corporate financing works. You pay your taxes on a quarterly basis, and all of these things happen on quarterly bases. And CEOs and presidents, all the different officers of a corporation, they have these incentives. You show these numbers you get bonuses. Now, when the government gives subsidies or buyouts or payouts or all this stuff to these corporations, immediately on the books, it shows these numbers going up. And because the numbers go up, the CEOs are like, it's in my contract. The numbers went up. I get a bonus. That's how it works. Unreal. It should be earmarked differently if money is coming in from a government entity for that kind of thing. And I think that's something that we could probably put in legislation in our tax code. I think that's something that we could possibly do, where, and this is something I'd have to talk to somebody a little smarter about the nuts and bolts of how legislation works. Possibly lawyers or people like Ryan and Tanya from Northern Perspective would know probably better along the the procedural sort of thing for that. But put forward a motion or put forward a bill that would amend, whether it's a tax code or the corporate structure law, where if monies are coming in from a government entity, that they cannot be seen in the corporation as profits, nullifying even the chance or the legality of CEOs getting bonuses off of tax dollars. That should be something that can be put forward. You got to look at the way the game works in order to change the playing field. Really, that's the way things work. Where was I going to go with this? I was going to go somewhere else with this. I'm just kind of rifling through some of the stuff from today. Now, I did see this on Twitter. This is Elon Musk retweeting this screenshot from Rothmus saying 100, 100%. This is Tim Pool tweeting out saying, I'm going to go buy more guns today. And obviously somebody in the chat or in the comment or in the replies saying, I'm an Australian. Why would you? I'm an Australian and would just like to ask, why would you need guns? And this is the most amazing reply here. Anthony Paquito saying, so we don't get locked in camps for having a virus with a 99.9% survival rate. If you think we had it bad in Canada, we should also go look over at Australia, New Zealand, and the things that they were doing over there, both countries that have been completely stripped of their right to protect themselves and bear arms, all these things that we hold dear. So yeah, that's why you need them. That's why we would probably advocate that it's a good idea to hang on to them things. They're excellent devices. Absolutely excellent devices for a lot of different reasons. Now, Ian, Runkle of the Bailey, who's got a great, fantastic YouTube channel. He's a lawyer and specializes in Canadian gun laws, and he talks extensively about them. He's a great resource if you're looking to learn more about pew pews, looking to learn more about the legality around pew pews, legalities around self-defense, around a number of these issues. He talks a lot about this. So yeah, get on over to the Runkle of the Bailey, Ian Runkle, great YouTube channel. He's commenting on this. Canada should be leaping on this, with at least 2 foreign nations actively musing about copying us. Seems like it's a good idea. And this is what he's talking about. Finland plans to open 300 gun ranges, promoting firearm safety and proficiency as part of national defense. Imagine if the US embraced a similar approach. We could ever shift to a model where the government encourages responsible gun ownership. Thoughts? Let's get into the video here.
We don't have any issues with the security of your household. We don't, at the moment, you can leave your cell phone on the street and probably find it next day in the same spot. Finland is a safe place. But for some reason, they have something in the back of the head. ringing, that this is the skill what I have to learn now.
Yeah.
And that's why they study, and that's why they practice, and that's why they buy the guns. I think that the wind have changed. Now it's blowing from the east.
It raises your adrenaline levels. And yeah, shooting, I've always loved shooting since I was a little kid. So yeah, it brings your adrenaline levels up.
The interest in national defense is traditionally very high in Finland, and especially these days with the Russian aggression on Ukraine, the interest has risen even more. So mainly this is to provide means to people take part in defense. So we believe that the more people can be a part of our defense system, the better. So we want to provide people more possibilities to practice shooting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I recommend everybody get out there and get shooting. I think it's a fun hobby. Like even if you're not considering like, oh, I don't need it for self-defense, like they're saying even here in Finland, where you could leave your cell phone on the ground somewhere, come back the next day, and it would likely still be there. It's a very high trust society, very low crime, very good situation, but yet still people are like, yeah, no, it would be good if we had firearms and we knew how to use them. So, and I'm a big fan of safety. I just think safety is a great idea. It's the same thing around power tools. I think in school, we should be teaching children about how power tools function and how to be safe around them. Absolutely. Dad's going to have his power tools in the shed. You don't want to go out there and get yourself hurt. Later on, you want to go make a birdhouse. You want to be able to first under supervision and then be able later to do it on your own, be able to get those power tools out and use them. Absolutely. Safety is paramount. And why is that? It's because things could go bad. Things could go terribly wrong using a power saw, can be using any number of different types of power tools. So treat them like dangerous objects because they can be. They absolutely can be. They have a purpose, and that purpose is to bore through or cut through objects that are a lot more solid than the human body. And this is what we should be doing. Same thing with firearms. Firearms are something that we should have in our society. We should have at our disposal for situations where they're needed, but the safety is paramount. People are dumb when it comes to safety. They're just completely ignorant and this is where accidents happen. And then people are saying, oh, the bad things are happening. Yeah, because you didn't teach anybody safety. Let's get on the safety stuff, and then we won't have so many incidences like that. And then obviously, there's the obvious thing about rising crime and, break and enters, people busting into people's homes saying, it would be one of those things where you probably see a lot less of it if those people had in the back of their head, I might get shot if I go in there. Just think about it. Just think about it. It would probably be a lot rarer of an occurrence if that were the case. But let's move along. What are some of the weird things that we're seeing on the internet today? Toronto Star jumping the gun saying how far-right influencers are weaponizing Canada as a warning to Americans. Should Canada be a warning to Americans? Yeah. Yeah, it should be. Absolutely should be. And it's not American influencers that are doing this, Toronto Star. Why you got to ignore us? If you want more Canadian content, we're right here. There's a lot of us on YouTube talking about this stuff, but they want to make it about the American influencers. Right-wing influencers often present a distorted vision of Canada that sloshes back into the real world, possibly shifting Canadians' views of their own country. This is an ultimate gaslighting. These influencers are totally undermining our propaganda. And we're frustrated about it because it's accurate. That's what's happening. And yeah, a lot of these influencers are jumping at the story, which I think I'm actually proud of. I'm proud of that fact, because think about this. Go on YouTube 4 years ago and look up stuff on Canadian politics. Sparse, and especially from American sources, not even happening, right? Not even happening. And then Tim Pool has been more based lately. Absolutely has been. Oh yeah, big time. So and that's great. I love seeing it. Trudeau's a commie with $5 says, getting your pew pew license doesn't mean you have to buy one. Education. Absolutely. Even if you don't get your license, go to the safety course. Go take the safety course at your local gun club. Why not? You don't have to sign all the paperwork. Just do it. Just go do it. You'll be happier for it. And go shooting. You will love it. You'll love it. I don't know anyone who's gone shooting and said that they didn't have a good time. Don't know a soul. Daniel Smith's going to Trump's swear-in. Yeah, he's going to the inauguration. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what they say. But yeah, right-wing influencers often present a distorted version of Canada that sloshes back into the real world, possibly shifting Canadians' views of their own country. See, places like the Toronto Star, CBC, CTV, Global News, when the Freedom Convoy came, they were lying from day one. From day one, they were saying, look, there's no trucks. They were showing like some other street where the convoy was happening. And they're like looking down some other street. Look, no trucks. It's not even happening. And then, you know, it became the whole meme, you know, of first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they ridicule, then they attack you. And then you win. And that's really where it goes. It's unbelievable. Clyde, please talk to Viva Fry more. Yeah, sure. I'll reach out to him. I haven't talked to him in a minute. I don't know what he's even been up to. I'm so busy doing my thing. I know he's busy doing his thing. He actually got an invite. She actually got an invite. Yes, I heard her talking about it on Fox News. Daniel Smith. But yeah, I would love to do more stuff with with Viva Fry. I do stuff with Marty every week. Yeah, that would be fantastic. I guess what's the point of even getting into this article? It's crazy. I wanted to point this one out. This is another young lad. I believe he works for the Taxpayer Federation. Devin DeVore, I think it is. Yeah, Devin Drover. Sorry, my bad. Awesome young man here with a great moment in Canadian history. These things need to go on the books. This is absolutely hilarious. This exchange is too hilarious.
Perhaps, Mr. Drover, you could tell me your background in economics and price and climate policies.
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Economics from Memorial University, and then I completed a law degree and a master's in business administration with a focus in public policy.
And your experience in price and climate programs?
Sorry, do you mean if I'm experienced in taxing Canadians?
Oh no! Oh, I don't want to get nabbed for that one. We all know where that's going. So obviously, who's this lady? What's her name? Leah Taylor Poi?
Economics and price and climate.
Leah Taylor Roy. She's the kind that yeah. Anyway, her sentiment there, her whole idea there is I'm gonna discredit this guy by saying you're unexperienced in doing climate stuff. And what's your experience in economics and climate stuff? Riddles off a bunch of degrees that he actually has, and of course he's with the Taxpayer Federation. So yeah, lady. And then she says, no, what I mean is climate policy. Perfect answer. I'll let him give that again, but I got to pause it before she actually before the music goes.
Perhaps, Mr. Trudeau, if you could tell me your background in economics and pricing climate policies.
Sure, I have a Bachelor of Science in Economics from Memorial University, and then I completed a law degree and a Master's in Business Administration with a focus in public policy.
And your experience in pricing climate programs?
Sorry, do you mean if I'm experienced in taxing Canadians?
Am I experienced in taxing Canadians? Wow, just a perfect example right there of where we're at. We're absolutely at. I just had to share that one. Let's move on to the main story because we want to get into this because this is gonna be a lot of discussion. This is gonna be a lot of discussion because I got a lot of opinions about this one. So I tweeted this out, and this is probably one of my largest tweets because I don't have a ginormous following like Marty or whatever on Twitter. But I was just, I don't know why it came to mind. And Grok is super fun. You can make these images on Grok. Just give it a prompt. Describe something, and it'll make it. It'll make it exactly as you ask it to. And this is a good one. But I asked there, I said, enjoying your legal weed? Or can you even afford it anymore? With a picture of Stephen Harper saying, I was right about Trudeau. And this one I thought was pretty hard hitting because the reality of the situation is that's why people voted for Trudeau. They went away from the guy who had way better fiscal policies. Largely, I follow you, Clyde. Thank you. Appreciate it. Maple Maga 199. Awesome. I probably follow you back. I follow a lot of people back. If people engage, then I'll follow back. I like doing that. Stephen Harper militarized the police. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I'm not a fan that Stephen Harper did, but his economics were not Trudeau. Let's say that for and I'll tell you one thing. So when the 2008 crisis happened, I was living in Japan, and holy cow, did they have an absolute nightmare of a scenario in Japan because of the 2008 crisis. Now, a lot of Canadians don't realize this because they were shielded from it largely because of the economic policies of the government at the time. There wasn't that much of a decline, but the United States really suffered from it. A lot of other countries around the world suffered from it massively. In fact, I have a chart here. Where is it? I've got too many tabs. I got a gazillion tabs going on, and I always lose where my place is on these tabs. Here it is. Here's the chart. So this is business investment per capita in Canada. So this is where Trudeau was elected. Now you can see this big dip. Look at this big dip. That's the 2008 crisis. That's what happened. Like the U.S. economy tanked. It tanked. And then it had a hard time getting back going before it went back on track, right? And Canada bounced back relatively quickly compared to anywhere else, really. And that's largely because of the economics of the Harper administration. Now, again, I'm not a huge fan of some of the stuff that Harper did, like, for example, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Awful legislation. Would not have done us any service. I don't think it would have been good. There was a number of things like that. Yeah, getting involved in the Paris Accord, all of those other things. Harper's WEF. I mean, yeah, if he went to there and spoke, that was, I mean, even Max Bernier went there and spoke at the time. That was a thing. And yeah, Agenda 2030, a lot of these things, not a fan of. Yeah, the TPP was a very bad move, but a lot of the economic policies at the time were great. They were really good and helped us out a lot better. But let's get into it, because They may have sowed the seeds of some of the asset bubbles problems that ended up becoming really bad under Trudeau, that, you know, actually came about before Trudeau. And this is largely how this came to be. But let's get into it. I got to find that tab that was on just a minute ago. So yeah, Trudeau, I was right about Trudeau. Yes, he was. And I put it in this this short that I put out this morning. I thought this was a lot of fun.
Would it worry you to go into deficit in this current climate to, as you say, put more people to work?
The commitment needs to be a commitment to grow the economy, and the budget will balance itself.
And Trudeau's deficits will not be small.
No.
Mr. Trudeau has made tens of billions of dollars of spending promises.
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
He said the budget will balance itself. He has no idea what he is talking about when it comes to these things. That's why you could be sure that his small deficits will become large deficits and would get Canada into the same pickle of high taxes and program cuts that we had under the last Liberal government.
Oh, I love that clip. This is where we're at with this. Sorry, I'm pulling up video sources. I have a lot of other clips that I can pull up to talk about this. Kitty Nukes, that's a great name, by the way, with a $10 super chat. Growing up, Trudeau was a dirty word and is still. I did not agree with everything Harper did, but my minimum wage went so much further. I watched an interview with him, well-spoken man. Yeah, and this is where I'm getting at. You can't agree with everything every politician ever does, and I'm again not a fan of like the TPP or any of the globalist initiatives, but this is getting back to what I was talking about earlier. I was talking about the fact that when you have a nation of people that are asleep, absolutely asleep, not concerning themselves with what the government is doing, and just going, it's good, everything's good, I'm happy. And then you have other people with a vested interest coming in, and they'll be the voices in every politician's ear. They will be. Especially in a country where people are super happy to have regulation in markets. I don't know what the socialist bug has been. I never really agreed with it my whole life. But I see the sentiment. I've been seeing the sentiment my whole life of Canadians super happy to have government run a lot of things, but then never really bother with lobbying the government to make sure that it's doing the right thing with those things. They don't care much, or they didn't for a long time. And people in those scenarios largely won't start caring until it all collapses, or until it all starts going to crap, which is what's happening right now, which is absolutely what's happening right now. So this is Harper with the original speech that isn't cut up. So I did do a little bit of cutting just to make it fit in the. You have 1 minute to work with, and if you want to put other clips in a 1 minute clip, a 105 clip doesn't work on shorts. So this is the original clip.
Today, Trudeau is saying he's going to run 3 small deficits in order to inject stimulus into the economy. How is this different from what you did in 2008 to respond to the economic crisis at that time?
Well, obviously we faced a major global financial meltdown in 2008, 2009, not just the drop in economic activity, but the effective freezing and collapse of a significant part of the global financial sector. My economic training tells me that's actually the time when you do run a deficit. When you have modest growth, we have modest growth this year, we will have modest growth, you don't return the country into deficit.
So my economic training actually tells me a different story. And, some people would be like, well, who are you to say? Who are you to say Stephen Harper is, an alumni, graduate of, universities, and he knows economics? Well, I happen to know the flavor of economics that he's talking about. He's talking about the Keynesian theory of economics, where they say in this kind of a scenario, this is when you run deficits. This is when you do government spending. This is when you inject liquidity into the marketplace. You drop interest rates. You make those things happen, and then that's gonna stimulate the economy, and that's where things will get going. Now, he later says in another interview this little tidbit, and this will help things make a lot more sense.
What are some of the consequences if you screw this
the
up?
first and obvious one is inflation. My own view is that we've had inflation for some time now. It's been asset inflation, it's bubbles in everything. And now you're getting consumer inflation. And what happens, Joe, I mean, it's to say we've been through this movie before. What happens is at some point this requires interest rate hikes.
Yep.
And as soon as you have interest rate hikes,
and the asset prices will crash.
You have impacts on investment, and you have, more importantly, all of a sudden, all this quote affordable government spending is not so affordable.
What are some of the
So even in John Maynard Keynes' original recipe for economics, he didn't and I'll have to get back to that chart again. This is the whole idea. We had this massive dip, and then what was the solution? We put a lot of liquidity into the marketplace. We started doing, and we were only able to do that because we didn't do that previously. Does that make sense? So it was actually the fiscal responsibility of the government leading up to that moment that made it possible to do all that spending. So like right now we're already in deficit. If we have an economic downturn, we can't just go do that again. We don't have the space. We don't have any surplus in order to go into deficit to make that happen. But inversely, what he's saying here is we did that, and then we went into asset bubbles right away. Why? Because of massively overly cheap interest rates. And this is what happens. When you artificially lower interest rates, it pushes people out of savings. Because, you got your money in your savings account and you get nothing. You get nothing. And the government's spending a bunch of money, and you're looking at it, what's going to be inflation moving forward. You're going to lose the value of your money. So you got to get it out of your savings account, and you got to put it into assets. You got to put it into things. And this is what drives the prices of those assets up. It drives the price of assets up. So everybody gets into housing. The housing market goes, woo, lots of people buying. Let's raise the prices because we can, because people will still buy at those higher prices. And that's what happens. It drives bubble economies. Now, immediately, what should have happened once the recovery came, which we can see where right around the time, and I don't know, I can't say that Stephen Harper would have done this, pressure the Bank of Canada to raise rates above the low prices, the low rates. I can't say whether he would have or he wouldn't have. Now, the Austrian school says, hands off. All those people that were malinvested, they should lose. When that crash comes, let it happen. Let them lose their shirts. And then it'll be localized to that portion of the economy. That's a good argument, in my estimate. But it would have hurt a lot. It would have hurt a lot during the 2008 crisis. So a lot of the recovery that Harper brought for us was sowing the seeds of this housing bubble that we're currently in. Now it makes sense, right? Now it makes sense that, oh, right, I remember when the assets were going way up and Trudeau hadn't been elected yet. Because I got back to Canada in 2011 after the big earthquake in Japan. I came back to Canada at that time. And I remember we got into looking at places, and I was like, whoa, hold on a second. These homes just a couple of years ago were $200,000. I'm in British Columbia, so that's a lot. It's a lot of money. Or they were like $170,000 for a townhouse. I'm like, they're over $400,000 now. That's a bubble. We're in a bubble economy, and that was before Trudeau got elected. So I didn't buy into the economy. We got into renting. And now, obviously, like 2020's hindsight, if I knew that Trudeau was just going to keep the interest rates low and keep spending, perhaps I would have got into it, and then I could be selling out right now and be a millionaire for sitting on a 3-bedroom townhouse in British Columbia. but that's hindsight's 2020. You can't predict when these things are going to happen. But this is what occurred, and it's because of sentiment. Like, it's just insane what came out of Trudeau. I mean, first and foremost, he had this
spending
old
that actually
statement.
matters to Canadians is not there. This is all about holding the course so they can look good in the next election.
So in this economic climate, how committed to a balanced budget would you be right now? Would it worry you to go into deficit in this current climate to, as you say, put more people to work?
The commitment needs to be a commitment to grow the economy, and the budget will balance itself. This way, they're artificially fixing a target of a balanced budget in an election year, and they're going through all sorts of twists and turns and bends to try and get it just right and the timing just right in the announcement. And that's irresponsible. What you need to do is create an economy that works for Canadians, works for middle-class Canadians, allows young people to find a job.
A vibe session. So we don't go into a vibe session is what he's getting at. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But build the economy and then the budget will balance itself. This is the old, tired, bad, idea that if you inject the market with liquidity, that will make the economy turn around. It'll make the economy go good. Now, Stephen Harper was kind of doing a similar thing during the crash, but he talks about the timing of which that he did it. And I'll let you hear it again, and then maybe it'll make a little bit more sense now that you get a little bit more of the context to it.
Today, Trudeau is saying he's going to run 3 small deficits in order to inject stimulus into the economy. How is this different from what you did in 2008 to respond to the economic crisis at that time?
Well, obviously we faced a major global financial meltdown in 2008, 2009, not just the drop in economic activity, but the effective freezing and collapse of a significant part of the global financial sector. My economic training tells me that's actually the time when you do run a deficit.
Based on
when you
Keynesian
have
theory,
modest
yeah.
growth, we have modest growth this year, we will have modest growth, you don't return the country into deficit. And Trudeau's deficits will not be small. Mr. Trudeau has made tens of billions of dollars of spending promises. He said the budget will balance itself. He has no idea what he is talking about when it comes to these things. That's why you could be sure that his small deficits will become large deficits and would get Canada into the same pickle of high taxes and program cuts that we had under the last Liberal government.
And that makes a lot of sense. So, even though he's conceding that he would do that in a particular type of scenario, which, again, people from the Austrian school, myself, probably wouldn't agree with that so much, but at least he's being fiscally restrained in when he would use that tool. If that makes sense to you. My run ends with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Very generous. Really appreciate that. When I moved to Winnipeg in the early 2000s, you could buy a house for around $130,000 to $150,000. Now, same house is double and it goes into a bidding war, sells for more than it's worth. Well, what it's worth is $130,000. Let's be real. Let's be real. But you're absolutely right. It's bid up. It bid up into these asset bubbles, just as Harper says again here.
Well, the
first and obvious one is inflation. My own view is that we've had inflation for some time now. It's been asset inflation, it's bubbles in everything. And now you're getting consumer inflation. And what happens, Joe, I mean, it's to say we've been through this movie before. What happens is at some point this requires interest rate hikes.
Yep.
And as soon as you have interest rate hikes,
and the asset prices will crash.
You have impacts on investment, and you have, more importantly, all of a sudden, all this, quote, affordable government spending is not so affordable.
But when is it too big to fail? We heard this. We've heard this. Too big to fail. That was, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac in the United States. That was the mortgage crisis that they had down there. When is it too big to fail? When every single home and every single homeowner is about to lose their shirt? If those assets collapse, let's be real. Let's look at the scenario. In Canada, if we agree that the housing economy is a bubble economy. Now, I've said this many times that I've never seen a scenario like this economically where you have such a push and pull, where you have the push of well, first off, you have the pull of an economy ready to collapse because it's a bubble economy in assets, specifically in housing. And then you have this push from immigration because then there's now too many people in the country to even house. So you can't just have people bailing from the housing market. They got nowhere to go. What are they going to go into tents? Well, we've been seeing some of that. But we're talking the entire housing economy in all of Canada. We're not talking about particular geographic regions. Everywhere is overinflated. Every single where is overinflated. LOL, come on. No, seriously. What would happen? What would happen if we actually had an adjustment like Mr. Harper's talking about here, where we need to have high interest rates? Do you think 5.5% is high interest rates? Clyde, how close are we to a crash? Well, it all depends. It all depends. Because, I mean, if you would have asked me that last year, I would have said it could be any moment. If you would have asked me that a year before, you would have said it could be any moment. If you would have asked me back when Harper was in office, back, in 2012, 2013, and I was looking at it going, whoa, these assets are overinflated. They're almost double what they were 2 years ago. I would have said that's unsustainable. But we've managed to inflate it over and over again for more than a decade. And that's where we're at. So can we do it more? Well, the problem is at what point do we then risk our currency? Because then, like, an asset bubble can quickly become a currency crisis if you try to do the soft default. The soft default, which is not pay back your debts with real money, but try to pay off your debts by just issuing new money and credit. Money printer go burr. That's the old expression, right? If we don't do that, if we don't pay back our debts and we have to do it that way, we'll destroy our dollar. So are we going to run into, what's it going to be? Are we going to find fiscal responsibility, reel back, interest rates go way up, but try to balance it somehow where people don't all lose their homes? Or, and is that even possible? Or do we just turn that printing press on, soft default to all of our lenders by giving them inflated currency, and go the direction of what, Zimbabwe? The direction of Weimar Germany? This is what these failed states do. I've heard people compare ourselves, wow, we don't have as much debt as the United States of America. But we don't have the world reserve currency. We can't do that. At a certain point, yeah, we could borrow money. At a certain point, they'll just stop lending us money. Right? It's crazy. Back in the 70s, they didn't have massive inflation. Your dollar went way further. Well, and at the end of the 70s, we saw what happened with interest rates, right? And see, that's the thing. When interest rates went way up, for people who weren't in assets, so say you didn't have a loan for a house, a lot of people were like happy. Like, say, renters, for example, they had, if they had any savings, they put it in the bank, they get 25% interest rate on their savings. Imagine that kind of return. Myron ends with a $2 super chat, says, remember that under Harper, your dollar hit parity. This is correct. So though I'm saying I disagree with with the sentiment because, you know, fundamentally I come from a different school of thought in economics than Harper does. What he did it with a discernment of conservatism or, you know, fiscal restraint, which you can't really say about Justin Trudeau. Holy cow.
We see signs of a stalling economy, as well as many people are still struggling financially. Can your government exercise fiscal restraint at such a time? What are those challenges?
Well, first of all, we are a government that has always exercised fiscal restraint.
These are real words that real people have said out of their real mouths. This man, unbelievable. What? Fiscal restraint? Fiscal restraint. In 9 years, this guy doubled our national debt. What took the entirety of our nation's history, 2 world wars and all these other conflicts and all this other stuff, a ton of prime ministers to build up this national debt. He just went poof. And you know what we got for it? Nothing. We got nothing out of it. We've got nothing to show for it. How much new infrastructure do we have because of this guy's spending? Zip. Nothing. It all went to services. And we're going to be paying these debts for years to come. Unbelievable.
Regardless of what that figure is exactly, future governments are going to have to carry that debt. The servicing costs on that are going to be very high.
Sorry?
The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry, that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
Okay, but it's still a lot of money.
No.
It's still a lot of money.
No.
No. Glenn, don't you know that interest rates are at historic lows? So this is the time you spend everybody's money into forever. But the problem is, and even this reporter Glenn knew that at some point they won't be historic lows. Interest rates will go up, and then we'll have to service the debt.
And you don't know where. Okay, but how are you going to pay for that? How are you going to pay for those costs in future years? Are you going to increase taxes, or are you going to cut programs?
Okay.
And by servicing the debt, he's not talking about how are you going to pay back the money owed. How are you going to pay for the interest accrued on the money owed? So just to service the debt, what are you going to do? This is unbelievable.
Right now, we're in an absolutely unprecedented situation where our economy had to completely shut down. And the government chose...
We didn't have to shut anything down. Look at Florida. Look at Texas. Look at all these places. Look at all of Africa, basically. Look at everywhere that didn't shut down. They were completely fine. Yeah, 99.9% survival rate, no joke. We didn't need to shut anything down. The only thing unprecedented is government action at this time.
Chose to and needed to be there for people while they lost their paychecks, while they could not be comfortable in how they were going to be able to support their families, pay their rent, pay for their groceries. We put forward measures to support Canadians right across the country so that we could stay healthy and so that we could have an economy to come back to as soon as the opportunity arose.
Not only was it expensive and we're servicing that debt now, but it was all for naught. It was unnecessary and it was harmful, and the rollouts were terrible. And any money that really went out went right into cronies' pockets. That's how it went down.
We have been absolutely transparent every step of the way about these investments we're making for Canadians, about how we are supporting millions of Canadians, millions of people, thousands upon thousands of small businesses across this country get through this unprecedented.
I love the Encino Man reference. If you're a 90s kid, you'll get that.
Time. Canada went into this crisis with a far better fiscal position than just about any other G7 country. And we are coming through it.
Why? Why were we in a better situation? Why were we in a better situation? Maybe because of what we explained earlier. What happened? What went down prior? We were in a better fiscal situation because of the Harper years. Not gonna lie. But literally, really look at it. Were we in a better fiscal situation? Trudeau gets elected. Dip. When COVID happened, we were already in a bad situation. So, like, everybody's experienced that dip, and all these other countries, the dip looks largely the same. It's upward trend, economy doing okay. Oof, COVID. Oh, back on our trajectory. That's the United States, right? Comparative. But here's Canada. We were already on a downward trend. And wow, look at all that economic activity right after COVID. Ugh. It's unbearable. It's unbearable to listen to this guy drivel on about how they're doing the right thing.
Extremely well as well. The investments we're making that will allow Canada to bounce back strongly from this are the kinds of things that we needed to do during this pandemic. And as we move forward, because of historically low interest rates, the debt servicing costs will be low. But we will need to look very carefully at...
Short-sighted. Absolutely short-sighted. The interest rates are low, so the debt servicing costs will be low. Again, it's because of his dad that we had 20% interest rates. Like, you can't even see where it's going because of even his own family, his own legacy. It's crazy. It's crazy. So now where we're in a situation where, I know we're on a GST holiday, whatever. The entire amount of money that's being collected from the GST is going to service the debts that he brought, just to pay the interest. So think of that every time you're going to the store and everything's more expensive because we pay this ridiculous, exorbitant tax that came in under Mulroney that was really brought in because he was saying, we're going to balance the budget, and it's just a temporary tax to balance the budget. There is nothing more permanent than a temporary government measure. Nothing. Never take it. And I'm gonna, because what was Mulroney was a PC, progressive conservative. I'm all over this one. If the conservatives come in and they say that we need a temporary tax to get rid of, nope. What we need is to, and I know, for a young liberal mind doesn't get this, and it's hard to fathom at first. If you lower taxes, tax revenue goes up. Crazy thought, right? It's all about the Laffer curve, understanding the Laffer curve. The idea that as you tax people more, they slow down at a certain point. They slow down and then they stop, either with their productivity or they take their ball. They don't go home. They just go to Jimmy's house instead of your house. You know what I mean? And that's where he's going to play from then on. You get companies that will leave Canada. Canadian companies that are here, they'll leave Canada. Canadian workers that are here, they'll leave Canada. That's a thing. They'll take off and they'll take their ball with them. They'll take their companies with them, and that's real. That's a real thing. Now, when you lower taxes, the inverse happens. It's an invite to business people from all around the world to go, hey, I'd love to invest in that low tax region. But you have to make sure that it looks permanent. You have to make sure that it's one of those things. Mulroney, Thatcher, and Reagan, the dream team. I remember those great days. But yeah, not everything was pearly gates. Not everything was great. We still having to deal with the GST, which again, it was there to balance the budget. They balanced the budget, and then the GST stayed. So never trust a temporary government measure. Like, we need to get you to lock down in your homes for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. The income tax, that was to get us through the First World War. When was the last soldier back from the First World War? The gullible suckers tax. That's the yeah, that's what they need to call it. That's what they need to call it. Venezuela of the North coming soon. Unless we turn things around. Unless we turn things around. And this is where I have hope. This is where I have hope. I want to get this off the screen because that is just makes me want to yak when I see that. I need to go to another tab where he's not on that. This is where I see hope. This is where I see hope in the future, and I think it's great. I think it's a fantastic thing. Where am I seeing hope from? I'm seeing hope because things are turning around. Things are getting to be a different sort of scenario in Canada. I wanted to talk about this actually, so I'm gonna pop this up on the screen. That's the first one. Hold on. Let me, beautiful. So many of you probably know this character out of US media. This is the US media. His name's Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. Really bad name for an organization. Look in a history book to talk about who the Young Turks were. Yeesh. Anyway. He's got the oldest going and probably the most popular YouTube show in politics. Longest running. It's called the Young Turks. Temporary measure was taxes before because of the Civil War. Yes, lol, nice call, Clyde. Chunky yogurt. Yeah, that's right. Chunky yogurt. The water buffalo. CBC doesn't even let me comment. I love your channel, Clyde. Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate it. Let's get into this. And because I see this is happening in the US, hopefully this happens here in Canada. I'm hoping to see more of this stuff. And I'd love to hear your takes. Mr. X. I get that. Haha. Awesome. So this is what he put out on Twitter. He said, everyone is looking for my so-called pivot. If you've been paying attention at all, his co-host, Anna Kasparian, who's been this, crazy lefty, see you next Tuesday for the longest time. She's been having this slow evolution of becoming, what would you call it? Right wing? Yeah, Anna's waking up. Oh, great stream, Clyde. Thank you, appreciate it. So she's having her like wake up moment, and it's hilarious. That's a different story because Cenk Uygur is way more steadfast. Of course, he's this guy who's this crazy lefty, and he wasn't always that. He used to talk about men's issues and stuff, and he since had to go back and delete a bunch of videos, denounce the things that he said in the past, which were just kind of funny jokes, whatever. He was being like a college boy. Who cares? Whatever. I'm not gonna hold it against him. A lot of people do because of the hypocrisy of it. I wish you'd just snap out of it and just become a normal person again. But what's happening with Anna Kasparian is she is largely becoming a normal person. She had recent thing where she admits that she totally went TDS, like Trump derangement syndrome, and now she's deleting your past is pretty weak. Yeah, totally. But that being said, she even had a thing talking about how she met this awesome neighbor. He was just like an all around nice guy, and then they were at the I don't know, the homeowners association meeting, and somebody was complaining about a Trump sign, and he's like, "Oh no, watch out! This is gonna be one of those ladies." And she realized that this guy was a Trump supporter, and she's like, "How could that be? He's such a nice guy. He's not a racist and all these other things." Coming to grips with reality, right? How the real world is. Kitty Nukes for $10 says, "Thank you, Clyde. It's my Xbox tag." Okay, fair enough. Origin story, too long for paid chat. My dad was in Zimbabwe then. He said money was on the street being trampled. Seeing Canada go down that road. Love your content. That is crazy. That's crazy. He was actually there in Zimbabwe when that all went down. Yeah, I mean, these are life lessons. These are world anthropological lessons that we need to keep in our memory banks. It's not even that long ago. It's not even as far back as the Weimar Republic, right? Like, these are recent historical things that have happened. It's coming here soon. Yeah, well, the way things have been going, holy cow. And like I try to tell people, you know, if you want to protect your savings and you don't know what to do with it, one way of doing that is through purchasing precious metals. These aren't investments. These are hedges against your bet. The whole idea is that what you do is you take what value you have in your money and you store it in something that does store value for long periods of time. This is what I've been encouraging people to do. It's a great way of, again, not an investment, a hedge for inflation, that kind of thing. It's a store of wealth in precious metals. These guys are great. They'll get you right. If you want to have it physically, they'll have it delivered right to your door. If you want to have it stored in their facilities, you're not getting some bonds or something like that. You're physically getting physical gold and silver, other precious metals in bullion, and it's a great way, again, to hedge your bet against a falling currency where we're losing all of our money. QR code, if you want an easy way to find that, just pause the screen. Do a screen grab or whatever, and then later you can you don't even have to pause the video, just do a screen capture on your phone right now, and then later when you're looking through your photos, you go, oh, that's right, that was Clyde's recommendation right there. Get on over there and get some of your savings. Don't throw all your eggs in any basket, but get some of your savings into something that will help you hedge against what's essentially coming here. Now I gotta close a few tweets or I won't be able to find my where I was. I've reached the limit of tabs that I can have open at the moment. I'm not kidding. That's where we're at this point. Holy cow, I gotta close some of this stuff because I want to continue talking about this. Drew Coover with a $2 super chat says, who has money to buy hard stock gold or silver? Some people do. Some people have savings. A lot of people have savings for retirement, savings for a rainy day, that kind of thing. And if you have any of that stuff and you want to keep it in savings, you're not trying to spend it, consume it soon. You want it to hold its value. That's a perfectly good way to do it. So Chunk Uger, again, is starting to have these epiphanies himself. He's watching his co-host totally like wake up from this woke nightmare that she was, the invasion of the body snatchers. I mean, how else can you compare it? Because you look at their content from decades ago, they just seem like, kind of down to earth, but lefties, right? Not woke and crazy. Woke and crazy came later. So, and it largely has to do with the bubble that they put themselves in. They're all in California and they're hanging around in these circles, that kind of thing. Dale Tulk with a 279 super chat says, I liked where a blue-haired girl reads Jordan Peterson's book. I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out. That's pretty funny. Myron Enns for $5 says, you don't have to agree with everything Trump says. I respect the man for being who he is, same as I did with Harper and with Pierre Poilievre. Yeah, that's fair. And like I said, I don't have to agree with everything Harper does and says, Harper did and said. I can agree with him largely on some things and disagree with him largely on other things. But, you know, we all have our own viewpoints. Jimmy Dore used to work with Cenk and Anna. Jimmy is fantastic. Yeah, Jimmy's great. Jimmy's great. And Jimmy's one of those guys. He's a reasonable take lefty. I mean, yeah, call a spade a spade. He's a lefty guy. He's a guy on the left. But he's reasonable. I mean, he wasn't always. He was famously spat on Alex Jones at that convention when he was still working for the Young Turks. Who else? Dave Rubin. Rubin used to work for the Young Turks, and then he left, and he's been doing his own thing on his journey away from leftism or all of that stuff. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was left. Yeah, he was a lefty, and he's coming around. I mean, what is coming around? I think people are finding this middle ground, not going left or right, going like pretty center ground, and focus around liberty. I love it. I love watching this happen. So this is the evolution of Chunk Uyghur. Everyone is looking for my so-called pivot, he says. It's not in the policy. It's not in the labels. It's not in the strategy, but I found it. There's something different. I don't hate the other side anymore. And that might be the biggest difference of all and the biggest sin for some. That's really interesting, a really interesting take, to not hate the other side anymore. Now, typically when you talk to people on the right, they don't hate the other side. They just think that they're ignorant. They think they're dumb. They think, like, not in the sense that like the left, like, go read a book. They think like you're well intentioned, but you're wrong on this, and your policies are going to cause more trouble than they're gonna correct for. They're emotional. You're emotional, and that at the end of the day is where I think the left and right divide is like the left think that the right are, you know, unemotional a-holes and just want to make money, and the right thinks that the left are just like, wow, you're living in La La Land. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I'll tell you what will work is if you create the incentives that people will go to work, and then that's where it'll be. And that's really the divide. All the other stuff is semantics. So I put this out on Twitter. I said, I don't know about you guys, but watching some of the most vicious leftists turn reasonable, and dare I say it, rational, is not only making my head spin, it's giving me hope. I'm looking at these scenarios and I'm thinking, wow, can we actually get to a point where there's real dialogue and not just, you know, shouting at each other. Well, it turns out there's a lot of shouting at Cenk for this from his own side. They lost the plot, and it seems like he alluded to that in that bit. More excellent independent Canadians, a candidate, sorry. More independent, excellent independent candidate. Have her on another interview. She's very informed. Or Karina Moir. Oh, I have to look her up. Sure, that would be cool. I don't do X or Facebook. Fair enough. Sure, Clyde. Forgive them, but don't forget, though. Absolutely. I think, yeah. So, you know, I think we should forgive people, but you're a fool if you forget. You're a fool if you forget their behavior. Absolutely keep that stuff in mind. That's the way we got to go. So he says, I have to admit, I underestimated the tribalism on our side. I thought once people realized that I'm defending left-wing positions in front of right-wing crowds, they would understand that that's not selling out. That's the opposite. But no, Most seem to think that just the mere act of talking to the other side is unbearable heresy. We should never talk because that's appeasement, etc. Winning the popular vote doesn't give them legitimacy, but one left-winger talking to them does. The fact that people can't see how crazy that sounds shows you how thick the bubbles are. There are big, thick bubbles. It's crazy. You've had her on the show before. She might have had some updates with fired nurses. Hold on a sec. You're talking about Corinne Maury. I've had Corinne Maury, not Karina Moir. If that's who you're referring to, yeah, I'd love to have Corinne back on the show. If Bill Gates came around, would you forgive? You're putting me on the spot here. That's hard. Okay. Zuckerberg. It looks like he's pivoting. What do you think about that? What do you guys think about that? Zuckerberg looks like he's pivoting. He sees the changing tide and he's jumping on it. That whole interview with him talking about Trump being Trump and the most badass thing he's ever seen. Let me try to find that. Let me try to find that real quick, because this is I wonder if I can find it. Zuckerberg. Come on. Zuckerberg saying the badass thing. He's going for like a whole new look. He's doing this. Sorry, I can't put this on. This is the scene, I think. Okay, let's pop this up. So this is the scene. And you know the first thing that came to mind? I'll tell you after you've seen it.
I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. The historic events over the weekend. And on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But look, it's, and I think, look, at some level as an American, it's like hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like.
Okay. So it's hard not to think of what's his name, Logan Paul, doing an apology video where you're like, you don't care. Oh, it just seems so off, like lizard person. I don't know. Is he being authentic? Let me know in the chat. Do you think he's being authentic there? It feels very inauthentic. It feels very much like a pivot. It feels very much like yeah, he sees the writing on the wall. He's not going to do very well if he doesn't position himself to look like more of a human being and a character that cares about the values of America, and that's it's a good thing. I like to see that pivot, whether he's authentic or not. It means that people who, even though are being inauthentic, hey, today is Thursday. Yeah, that's right. A little mix up on the schedule, noob. We're going to be doing the Friday show today because we're going to do the Marty Clyde show tomorrow night. So it's going to be back-to-back live streams. So enjoy it. Absolutely. And don't forget, we're going to be in the Discord after this. So go hop in the Discord. We'll see you in there. It should be a lot of fun. Get that going. And then tomorrow, again, more content in the evening for the Marty Clyde show. But yeah, it feels inauthentic, whatever. What's got me excited is the fact that a lot of these characters are no longer trying to be Chinese. They're not trying to inject themselves with the Chinesium alloy to become like Chinese characters. They're going more for the American spirit in their imagery. So even if they're completely disingenuous and it's not true and they're really at heart, he's still a lizard person. I mean, I'm joking. I don't think he's really a lizard person for Toronto Star that's listening in on this show. But Discord, yes, Discord's another it's another social media platform. They have really good voice and video. It's kind of like Zoom but better. Anyway, it's like forum. It's a forum where people can hang out, and I can listen to you guys, and you guys can give me some of your input. It's a great thing. He is for sure a lizard person. But irregardless of that, why am I using that word? That one drives me nuts. Regardless doesn't need to have the negative on it. It's regardless already. Regardless of the fact that he's not a lizard person, or may not be a lizard person. It's the fact that he's putting on the act, or at least people are putting on the act. Corporate interests are now putting on the act to want to be capitulate to American sentiment. That's good. That's good news. That means that people are bailing from the Chinese communists. They're bailing from that whole thing. Zuck took the CCP bucks. Yeah, he took them and then he ran. It looks like he's gone in another direction. Lamau. They're putting on an act, including the Conservator Party, bro. What part don't you understand? If you want to get in, you get in, and we get our people in. That's how you do it. Don't waste your time with new apparatus. Really great shoe. Thanks. I got them. No, thanks. It's been a great show. It has been. But like all things, all great things come to an end. I wanted to put this last piece of sentiment in there at the end of the show because I think things are going in the right direction. I think things are on the up and up, and it gets me excited. It really gets me excited to look into my crystal ball of predictions for the future and see a positive image. I think things are trending in the right direction. I think Canada needs a real severe kick in the butt, but that's something we can do. I think we can do it. And I think we've got a president-elect who's going to soon be the president of the United States who's going to help us with that. He's going to help us. And with the example of what's happening in South America, in Argentina with Javier Milei, we have the precedent to say, look, it can be done. Here's an example of how it's done. They're doing it in America. Let's get it done. Let's ditch all these international agencies. Let's ditch the UN. Let's ditch the World Economic Forum. Let's ditch all of these lobbyists and all of this stuff. Get out of here. Yeah, liberals afuera. That's what we want to convince people in the voting booth, to get out there and say afuera. And don't just be don't think that your democratic input is limited to just going every 4 years and filling in a circle. There's a lot more that you can do. There's a lot more you can do to get connected. And speaking of which, get connected. Where Marty and I were doing a meetup. He's already got his plane tickets. He's coming out in January on the 25th. In Squamish, British Columbia. We're going to be meeting up. I'll give you in the future. We're going to verify that we're okay to go to that location, and then I'll let everybody know. I'll make sure everybody knows on all the different social media platforms. But yeah, set your calendar to, if you're in the area, come on out. We're going to do some more of these moving forward. It's a really fun event. It's a great way to get people to come together. It's not just about meeting Marty and myself. That may be the draw. Also, Alex Zoltan, he's going to be coming. So that's going to be great. Look forward to that. You get to meet him. But it's not just about meeting us. It's more about you guys meeting each other. I want to see people form friendships. I want to see people form bonds and make networks, make make networks so we can make Canada great again. This is how we do it. We get organized. And we make things happen, because some of us are doing something. We can all do something. We're all doing something. That's what's happening. So be sure, pay attention for the announcement, but it is here in Squamish. I'll make sure everybody knows before the date. Drew Coover with a $10 super chat. My son told me yesterday that his 22 is now banned. We're going to change. It will happen. We just need to come together from Argentina to the Great White North. Let's do this. Absolutely. I love the sentiment, and this is what I'm going to push forward. No more of these black pills. Done with that. White pills. We're going for the win. And if the Conservatives don't do what we are hoping for them to do, we're going to push. And that's how we get it done. It's going to be great. Amazing Zoltan is great. Come on out and meet him. It's awesome meeting people in person. It's so much fun. We need to save Canada. We will. We're going to do it. We're going to do it together. We got to save the West. We got to save the entire Western civilization. Thanks for ending on a positive note. Clyde, much appreciated. I love ending on a positive note. And I love hearing from you guys. If you guys are interested, the link for the Discord is right there. It's also in the description down below. Check that out. And hopefully we'll see you over there. And we'll get to have a good chat. It'll be a lot of fun. Great. All right. We'll see you all then. We'll see you in the next one. We'll see you tomorrow night if we don't see you before then. We're going to be doing the same show again as we usually do on Wednesdays, but on Friday live. That will be the Marty Clyde show tomorrow night. Don't miss it. 6:30 Pacific, 9:30.